people mobilizes nationwide. The Venezuelan people mobilizes nationwide in support of the national migrants who have suffered mistreatments by the U.S. government, especially those currently kidnapped in El Salvador. The Chinese government accused the United States of interfering in Venezuela's internal affairs, urging it to stop abusing the imposition of illegal sanctions. And representatives of the United States and Russia agreed in the city of Riyadh to ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. This March 25th, the Venezuelan people are mobilizing in Caracas in support of Venezuelan migrants who have suffered mistreatment, especially those kidnapped in El Salvador. This march, called by the Secretary General of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, seeks to reject justification for violent acts against Venezuelans and to express solidarity with the migrants. The mobilization also responds to the application of the Public Enemy Act by Donald Trump's administration, which has generated repudiation in Venezuela. Recently, 199 Venezuelan nationals returned to Venezuela from Honduras after being deported from the United States, which has been seen as a success of the return to the homeland plan. Meanwhile, in El Salvador, trade union organizations mobilized in solidarity with the families of kidnapped Venezuelans, condemning President Nayib Bukele's actions. Salvadoran political and social groups and popular collectives rejected the U.S. government's criminalization of the 238 kidnapped Venezuelan migrants. Union leaders denounced that President Bukele kidnapped the Venezuelan migrants in exchange for financial retribution from the U.S. administration. In turn, the unions denounced that the Center for the Confinement of Terrorists, CECOT, is in fact a center for the confinement, torture, and murder of detainees. And the people of Honduras also expressed solidarity with Venezuela after the criminalization and illegal imprisonment of its migrants. A group of people gathered in Tegucigalpa expressed all their support for the kidnapped Venezuelans in El Salvador who are being criminalized by the United States. Representatives of various social movements attended the meeting with banners in which they denounced that migrating is not a crime and that those in prison have not committed any crime. The Venezuelan ambassador in Honduras, Margaret Godoy, accompanied the demonstration and thanked the support of the Hondurans.
Today, March 25th, a worldwide day of condemnation and denunciation has been promoted, but above all in solidarity with the Venezuelan people and government, Venezuelan migrants and Honduras could not be left behind. I want to recognize that history and that shared struggle, that resistance and that victory that today has allowed us to embrace again. And thank you for the solidarity that you have expressed today. The call has been made by the Anti-Fascist International Honduras chapter, but the Honduras-Venezuela Friendship Association and different organizations and souls, hearts that in the peoples of the world are attentive to what is happening have joined us.
And U.S. judges and journalists reject the government decision that ended in the kidnapping of 238 Venezuelans in El Salvador and claim that Nazis got a better deal with the Foreign Enemies Law. Judge Karen Henderson, one of the 3 judges of the Court of Appeals that is reviewing to block the aforementioned law, upset the Deputy Attorney General Drew Ensign by making an analogy with the Nazis who were applied to the law that today discriminates against Venezuelan migrants. In this same line, the journalist Camilo Montoya Galvez, who revealed the list of names of the Venezuelan citizens kidnapped in El Salvador, assures that the investigations of the government and media have not obtained links with extinct criminal gang known as the Train of Aragua.
Es Estados Unidos incluyó en febrero en su lista de organizaciones terroristas al Tren de Aragua, de origen venezolano, a la MS-13, creada por salvadoreños.
And on Tuesday, the Chinese government accused the United States of interfering in Venezuela's internal affairs, urging it to stop abusing the imposition of illegal sanctions. Precisely during the press conference of the office, the spokesman of China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Guo Jiakun, rejected the so-called long-arm jurisdiction after Washington announced tariffs of up to 25% on imports from countries that buy oil and gas from Caracas. The diplomat added that the United States is seriously interfering in the internal affairs of other countries and assured that China is firmly opposed, and reminded Washington that the imposition of tariffs would only cause greater losses for U.S. companies and consumers.
长期滥用非法单边制裁和所谓长臂管辖。
We call on the U.S. to stop interfering in Venezuela's internal affairs,
我们呼吁美方停止干涉委内瑞拉内政，
abolish the illegal unilateral sanctions imposed on Venezuela, and do more things that are conducive to the peace,
稳定发展的事。
stability, and development of Venezuela and other
加征关税
countries.
只会让美国企业和消费者承受更大的损失。
And the former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Jessica Aber, was found dead in her Alexandria home on Saturday morning. Aber left her post in January after Donald Trump became president. The lawyer had been appointed U.S. attorney in Virginia in 2021 by the then President Joe Biden to handle cases involving terrorism, violent gang crime, and leaks of classified documents. Authorities said the former prosecutor's death may have been caused by a long-standing medical problem. Autopsy results are still pending. And the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation created a special task force to conduct an investigation into the attacks on Tesla vehicles. On Monday, the director in charge of public affairs, Ben Williamson, informed that the ATF is also involved in the investigations. Earlier, President Donald Trump called the criminal acts committed against Elon Musk's brand terrorist and sick. The Attorney General Pam Bondi said she has filed charges against 3 people accused of setting fire to the brand's vehicles, for whom she has requested sentences ranging from 5 to 20 years in prison. We now have our first break coming up. Remember to join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. We'll be right back. Welcome back. In Paraguay, the first of 3 days of mobilization against labor law violations, among other things committed by the government of Santiago Peña, will take place this Tuesday. The mobilization in the city of Asunción go to the Plaza de Armas, located in front of the legislative branch, to denounce nepotism and the neglect of the health system. Almost 100 civil society organizations are expected to mobilize, including workers, senior citizens, indigenous people, and urban and rural collective, as well as young people from the National Crusade movement. The social movements and organizations are demanding their rights, pointing out that these have been violated by the government of Santiago Peña, and they are also demanding the defense of freedom, democracy, and social justice. Argentina's Customs Staff Union, Supara, started a 48-hour strike to demand labor improvements. The strike began with a total blackout of the computers in the offices, a measure that will continue until Wednesday, March 26. The Commission added that the protest is being carried out after the government's failure to listen to workers who seek salary adjustments and the solution of problems affecting the sector. They also warned that if there are no answers to their demands from the government, they will extend the strike until the demands are met. And Cuba launched the second national exercise for the prevention and fighting of crime, corruption, and social disruption to strengthen mechanisms and structures at all levels to guarantee citizen security. This second exercise follows the one developed in December 2024 and will run until March 29th. President Miguel Diaz-Canel took part in the meeting held to launch the process, together with other representatives of the Central Committee of the Communist Party. All the state structures from the provincial level to the popular councils participate in this paramount exercise. And Brazil's Supreme Federal Court opened session to decide on the indictment of former President Jair Bolsonaro and 7 others implicated in the January 8, 2023 coup d'etat against institutional headquarters. The magistrates of the first chamber of the Brazilian court analyzed the indictment against Bolsonaro and those implicated, which includes affiliation to a criminal organization, attempted coup d'etat, and abolition of the democratic rule of law. Sentences add up to 43 years in prison. The evidence includes telegram messages in which Bolsonaro instructed supporters and military personnel to reject the elections, as well as documents linking his close circle to plans to declare a state of emergency. The magistrates will also decide on the members of the so-called crucial group, which according to the prosecution includes 6 military personnel and a police officer who were ministers or high-ranking members of the armed forces. Meanwhile, this Tuesday, the emperors Naruhito and Masako of Japan received the president of Brazil, Luis Inácio da Silva, and his wife, Rosângela da Silva, at the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. The meeting marks the beginning of the Brazilian president's official visit to the Asian country, which aims to strengthen areas of bilateral cooperation such as security and investments. The Brazilian president is trying to get Japan to open negotiations to adopt a free trade agreement with Mercosur. Brazil is seeking new markets for products that may face restrictions in the United States because of President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff policies. And the Chinese Oil and Chemical Corporation Sinopec Group discovered more than 140 million tons of shale oil reserves in the eastern province of Shandong. Through a press release, the corporation informed the discovery Sinopec is the largest oil refinery in the country, and this is the first shale oil field that has proven reserves of more than 100 million tons and has also been registered with the Ministry of Natural Resources of China. Official data reports that Chinese crude oil production reached 213 million tons in 2024, and shale oil production exceeded 6 million tons, a record high. At present, China has 3 national-level shale oil demonstration zones. In Saudi Arabia, representatives of the United States and Russia agreed in the city of Riyadh to ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea. U.S. officials confirmed that in recent talks between the U.S. and Ukrainian delegations, a series of measures were discussed to prohibit attacks on energy facilities, both Russian and Ukrainian. It was also confirmed that Washington and Moscow will join efforts to achieve lasting peace and prevent attacks against commercial ships for military purposes in the Black Sea. The United States also made a commitment with Russia to reactivate and improve access to ports and financial payment systems in the global market. And the Kremlin issued a statement on the talks held in the city of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in which they confirmed the information issued by the White House. Moscow assured that commercial vessels in the Black Sea should not be used for military purposes, and the sanctions against Russian banks should be lifted and the Russian financial system be reconnected to the SWIFT system. At the same time, Moscow emphasized that if the conditions of sanctions reduction and respect for the ceasefire agreement against energy structures are not fulfilled, the grain agreement will not be able to enter into force. And with this news, we are going for our second break, so don't go away. Welcome back. In Lebanon, the Hezbollah resistance movement ensured not to allow the normalization of relations with the Israeli regime under the pretext of reconstructing the country, as the United States had urged to make it happen. The deputy head of the political council of Hezbollah movement, Mahmoud Kamati, stood out 3 main issues. First, his country must be liberated from the Israeli occupation forces, prisoners must be released, and the 13-point file with the enemy must be closed. The authority further pointed out that as long as the Lebanese soil be exposed to the Zionist regime's shellings, the aggressions would not stop. Hezbollah and the people are committed to resistance, as it is considered a fundamental pillar in the defense of the territory. Likewise, the movement rejected the presence of occupation troops, the violation of both the ceasefire and the deadline for withdrawing from the occupied territories. And in Palestine, Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 65 people in Gaza in the past 24 hours, including women, children, and 2 journalists. According to Palestinian doctors, an Israeli attack hit a schoolhouse and displaced people in the Gaza Strip on Monday, killing at least 4 people, including a child. Another 18 people were wounded in Monday's attack on the Nusayrat refugee camp, while another 25 were killed in attacks overnight and on Monday. Also, in this new wave of attacks, journalists Hossam Shabbat and Mohammed Mansour were killed in a new attempt to silence the media and hide the crimes of the occupation against the people of Gaza. In this context, and following Sunday's attacks on the Nasser hospital, the UN calls for no damage to medical facilities as Israeli attacks in Gaza intensify. In this regard, the UN spokesperson explained that the organization's staff continues to receive reports of attacks on medical facilities, ambulances, and medical personnel in Gaza, who have described it as horrific. It is important to note that Israel's attacks on hospitals have been part of its genocide from the beginning, affecting the entire healthcare system and paralyzing it almost entirely. An Oscar-winning Palestinian director, Hamdan Balal, was released by Israeli authorities after being held captive following an attack by settlers on Monday. From a medical facility in the occupied West Bank where he was being treated for his injury, Hamdan described the incident.
This time, they came, the soldiers, with the settlers attacking me and beating me and destroyed me. This is first time, and came like first I got it the Oscar. So this is like let you think why they attacking you like this. It's like hard attack after the Oscar. In the beginning, yes, there's attack, but not like this. I don't know what I'm feeling now, but that's my home. So if I scared, I afraid. Yes, maybe this is feelings. Especially about my family, about my kids. But anyway, I went back to my home because this is my home.
And this Tuesday, the International Network Monitoring Service NetBlocks reported a massive internet outage affecting the entire country of Syria. In a message published on the X social media, the monitoring platform pointed out that real-time network data showed the interruption of the service at national level, affecting telecommunications in several cities of the country. The digital blackout comes in the midst of fresh airstrikes by the Israeli army against military bases in Syria. NetBlocks has confirmed the scale of the outage, although no details have yet been provided as to its cause. The contingency adds to the tensions and the intense information blockade maintained by the de facto government, which is led by former members of the Al-Qaeda terrorist group. Ecuador's National Risk Management Secretariat reported the death of at least 20 people as a result of torrential rains in the last 24 hours. The authority also indicated that since the beginning of 2025, the country has faced more than 2,000 adverse events which affected 23 provinces of the country due to the winter season. Likewise, 98 people were injured, 1,685 people were affected, and more than 33,000 houses were affected, of which 150 were destroyed. Given this, the Ecuadorian government maintains the regional state of emergency for 60 days, as well as red, orange, and yellow alerts according to the magnitude of risk in each province. And with this news from Ecuador, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can join us on our website at teleSUR English and also follow us on our social medias to stay up to date on everything happening around the world. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.